shallow happiness. They're willing to give up everything for what they want, but they refuse to give everything up for the one who can actually make a difference. Colossians 1:6, it says, "The same good news that came to you is going all over the world. It is bearing fruit everywhere by changing lives, just as it changed your life, from the day you first heard and understood the truth about God's wonderful grace." Isn't grace a funny thing? You could be a murderer and God's grace will cleanse you. Or you could just be a liar and God's grace will cleanse you. God's grace is not limited. He's only limited. The moment that you ask Jesus Christ to do the biggest thing in your life, but you don't think you can do it, you're limited. And you can't limit the limitless. You can't do it. And I just see so many people, it's like, oh, I wish God could do this, but I don't think he can. Well, if you don't think he can, then why do you bother asking? There's no point. Either you think you can do it or you think you can. And if you ask, I'm assuming you think you can, so stop trying to psych yourself out. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, "God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It is a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things you have done, so none of us can boast about it." You could go out your whole life and go live in a homeless shelter, take all your money, give it to the poor, go out to the world, and just be this good person. But that's not what you get to grace. Faith gets you grace. When you go out and you expect to do all these things to prepare, to allow God to give you grace, just ask God to give you grace and he will. That also does not give us the excuse to abuse grace either. If you ask for grace, you ask it for the right reasons. You don't go out and sin, ask for grace, then come back and ask for it again. Sorry. Salvation, the moment you accept Jesus. Each one of these dashes is grace. It is something that God gives you because you're on his path. The moment you dip down, you could be this far off. You miss out on everything. The moment that you take your own advice against God's direction, you miss everything that God has planned for you. And there's no getting it back. Once you miss it, it's gone. Jesus is a graceful God. But he was also a holy and just God. He's not going to turn back time just for you. Either you stay on the path that he's set out for you, or you're going to miss everything. You can miss graduating at the top of your class. You can miss out finding the person that you're supposed to marry. You can miss out on raising your children the right way. Because you are literally that far off. And when that happens, trust me, your faith is shaky. You feel like, oh God, how am I supposed to get back? How am I supposed to get back on the timeline that you set for me? How am I supposed to get back on the path that you put out for me? 2 Timothy 2:11-13, it says, "This is a faithful saying, for if we died with him, we shall also live with him. If we endure, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us." 13, "If we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself." Your faith could be out. Like, just take your faith and throw it out. You could have nothing left. But God is your faith. God can always remain faithful because that's who God is. God is faithfulness. God is grace. God does not have grace. God is grace. God does not have faithfulness. He is faithfulness. But when you're saved and you're on the path and you're trying to go disciple other people, this is the difference between evangelism versus discipleship. You cannot disciple anyone who does not have Jesus in their heart. there is no basis on which they can stand. It's pretty much going in one ear and out the other. You got to evangelize so that they can accept him, and then you can start the discipleship because now they have a foundation. It's like building a house. You're really going to build a house without a foundation. What's it going to do? It's pretty much what's going to happen. It's going to sink right into the ground. There's nothing there. You could have all this silver, all these chandeliers, all of these amazing high-tech gadgets in your house, but without the foundation, it's all gone crap. It always remind me of money. Got to evangelize first. Does anyone know what unevenly yoked means? Then I'm actually asking you guys. Does anyone know what unevenly yoked means yet?
You're of Christ, but you're not with Christ.
That's exactly right. 2 Corinthians 6:14. It says, "Don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live in darkness?" Eric and Danny, I need your help for a second. Everyone look back here for just a second. When God saves you, you're lifted up. You're no longer part of this world. Get into that chair. I don't want to.
Oh,
but when you're saved, all right, guys, ready? When you're saved and you're hanging out with lost people, and you're trying to, even if you're trying to lift them up, it's not going to happen. There's no possible way I'm lifting these two up on this table with me. But hang around with them long enough, pull them down. They pull you down. You fall because you're not around other Christians, and you're being influenced by the world. That's what happens. In Mark 8:34, it says, "Then, calling the crowd to join his disciples, he said, 'If any of you wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross, follow me.'" Hence the cross. All right, picked up my cross. But, sorry. But I'm hanging on to my selfish ways. Let's go. Such an oxymoron. There's no way you can hang on to this if you want to carry that. You pick. Either you carry your selfish ways, you carry the cross. Now, I know that those of you who have accepted Jesus Christ in your heart, I hope that you're hanging on the cross. But I also know from personal experience, there's some baggage. Sometimes you don't fully deny your selfish ways. Sometimes you don't want to hang on to stuff and think that you can fight it with this. This is not meant for fighting you. It's meant for fighting the world. Your personal cross is not meant to fight your personal battles. It's meant to fight the world out there. That's what it's meant for. For those of you who have been saved, well, first of all, when you're born, are you on this side or that side? When you're born, that side, right? Can we all agree? Mm-hmm. That side? You are born here. Now I'm going to talk to you about spiritual treason. Who knows what treason is? Anybody? Treason. Anyone know what that is? Eric, I'm going to pick on you. You're okay.
It's turning from one side to another, betraying one side and back into another.
Right. So spiritual treason. When you accept Christ, you go from here to here. Don't get me wrong, we're all soldiers in a battle. It just depends on what side or what soldier you fight, what general you fight for. You're born, you fight. Without Jesus Christ, you fight for this guy. I don't know about you, but that's not really a guy I want to fight for. When you accept Jesus, you're on God's side. You commit spiritual treason. You switch from this side to that side. So what happens? Say I'm part of the army. I'm part of the U.S. Army. But I turn and I'm